a blast. Teenage dreams and neon screens. It was all rad, you know what I mean. Like, you know, it's like whatever, together forever. We're never gonna sever, laughing and sharing our stories clever. We'll take you back, it's like whatever.
Welcome to Like Whatever, a podcast for, by, and about Gen X. I'm Nicole, and this is my BFFF, Heather.
We're back, and we brought a friend.
Yes, so today we are doing our first guest host. We are very excited. We have Mr. Pat Green here with us, the author of Hearts of Glass, Living in the Real World. We're just going to get to know Pat, talk about his amazing book, and y'all need to listen to it and share some Gen X memories. So,
Hi, Pat.
Hello, how are you two?
We're here. We're here.
I just stunned you two said yes. I'm sorry in advance.
Nope. If this goes wrong, we're blaming it all on you. So don't worry about it.
I'm good with that.
So we know, as you know, because you are our number one fan, we do
No pressure.
a little current eventiness before, but I think we all know what we had plans for other current events, and then, you know, something happened today. So my current event, I'm going first, is Ozzy.
Yeah.
I'm very, well, let me take it back really quick because I do think it's important. The Trump administration has dropped the LGBTQIA option off of the National Suicide Helpline. And that's bullshit. So the Trevor Project is trying to pick up the slack. So if anybody would like to donate to the Trevor Project, you can look that up. I don't have the website handy, but yeah, that's, I can't even talk about it. It's so upsetting. So
Yep.
the Trevor Project is picking up where that left off.
Yep. And I'll share the Trevor Project on the socials. So if anyone listening needs the information, you can look it up on there.
I went through Trevor Project's training a couple years back during Shelter in Place to be a hotline volunteer with my kid and with my kid's friends. So many of them are LGBTQI plus. I did it for as long as I could, and there came a point where mental and emotional exhaustion, not to get too dark, but sometimes you wondered if you were the last call. And with shit like this going down, it's just making it worse. So yeah, I really appreciate you bringing up the Trevor Project. What they do is amazing work. They have an amazing team of volunteers. Their training is comprehensive, it's sensitive, and it addresses a need that we need, especially now.
It's just this whole, I know we've in the beginning just said we were not going to get political, but I mean, at this point, it's
Then we decided, fuck them if they don't like it.
Yeah, if you don't like it, too bad. This is who we are. I mean, that's just it. I lost so many friends in the 90s to suicide. I lost many friends who were gay that ended their lives because they were not accepted. And it's sad, and there's no reason why you can't have TAB to take you there. It's not hard to have somebody trained in that. It's not hard to have somebody there specifically for that. It's not like they're taking a call from somebody else just because it's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
I get angry. Anyway, stop with my anger. So that was mine. I'm sad about Ozzy. I knew it was coming, obviously, but that's that. So,
All right. The next great news for Gen X this week. We lost Malcolm Jamal Warner.
Who's number 3, I wonder?
Very tragically. Out on vacation in Costa Rica with his family. Like Whatever is on blue sky as well.
Yeah.
And there is a black blue sky on there. And I hadn't really thought about it, but this was like a big hit for them because Theo was one of the first, teenage black kids on TV that they could look up to and see themselves in. So it's really been very tragic, just all the way around. And sending out some love to his family.
Yeah, it's just great. Yeah, it's just sad. It's sad.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because being Gen X, Thursday nights on NBC, we got into his life, and that's where we also discovered Lisa Bonet and so many other people that just became household names. And I wish we still had network television to expose us, broaden us, and create that common bond.
Yes, I agree.
I know it's nowadays. It's first of all, it's so much more expensive than just to have cable, because you have to have cable and you have to have 27 streaming, and then it's oh, are you watching this? Well, what is it on? And you have to go looking for it, and there's not really anything anymore that is water cooler talk.
Yeah,
that we all watch.
Yep, that is so true.
And I know when they came out with Theo being dyslexic on the show, the way my sister is just horribly ADD, like just terrible ADD. And everything that Theo had, my sister had. Like, she can't take tests. She can't, unless you're asking her the questions specifically. Like, if we would play Trivia Pursuit, I'd have to be the one asking the questions, because I can make her focus. And Nicole knows my sister, and she knows that I have to like hold her face and make her look at me to tell her anything. And if you do, she listens. So it was like an eye opener and I would tell my mom, I think that's what's wrong. I think that's what's wrong with her. Like, I think she has the dyslexia that Theo has. I don't know. They never took her anywhere, but.
Well, as long as we weren't doing special episodes involving Nancy Reagan telling us to say no to drugs, which what fun is that? I think a lot of those, and also Punky Brewster telling us not to go into refrigerators, but a lot of those special episodes,
oh my gosh, I forgot about that. Yes.
Yes, Theo's talking about dyslexia, and in the meanwhile, Punky Brewster is like, don't go into refrigerators and junkyards. That was the safety takeaway.
I mean, and that I totally forgot that we were all dying in refrigerators.
Yeah, that's why we're all so fucked up now.
Everything was
terrified of everything.
Sand was going to kill you. Refrigerators were going to kill you.
Yes.
Well, add in a little bit of satanic panic, and we were all doomed from the get-go.
Yeah.
Look,
Exactly.
I lived the satanic. I mean, you don't look like me and get away with. You don't look like me without taking a ding on satanic panic. So the 90s were not good for the goths, I don't think. Me in particular, anyway, especially because so I had that, just added right on top.
Mm-hmm.
And now I am a card carrying member of the Satanic Temple. And I have the lovely little certificate that my mother-in-law found. So I am now the devil.
As an ex-evangelical, I'm mildly jealous, and I will see you in hell when we party and see Ozzy live again.
That's what I said to a friend of mine the other day, because he was like, oh, I'm going straight to hell. And I was like, I'll see you there. I don't even want to go to heaven. It sounds awful.
Mm-hmm. I saw a meme the other day that said, somebody told me there would be a special place for me here.
Does it have do you get like your own house or what?
Or even just your own bedroom would be nice.
I would, I'll even take like a little chair in the smoking section. That would be great for me. I would be.
There we go. Just let people watch.
I bet there is a smoking section in hell.
It's probably all a smoking section. I mean, it is on fire after all.
And it's a casino. It's a giant casino.
Yes.
But I want them to be unfiltered. I miss unfiltered cigarettes.
You know what I miss? Cloves. The other day, somebody told me you could get cloves still in Rehoboth, where you could always get them. Somebody said, but they're like stupid expensive, and apparently they're not as good as they used to be. But sometimes I can still taste them.
Taste it on your lips.
Mhm.
Yep. They were the best.
I miss it.
Every once in a while, I'll pick up a pack. And whenever I do, if I'm walking in the city, people are like, oh my God, is that a clove? And they're not offended. They're excited and intrigued, as if I uncovered a mystery.
Did you roll your own cigarettes? Did you roll your own?
No, the things that I rolled was not tobacco, but I wasn't, I did try to roll my own once, and it just looked like a tobacco joint. It didn't work out well, and it didn't taste good.
Yeah. We had a friend that rolled his own, but I was like, you know what? I'm just going to buy them. It's a lot easier.
You're
It's
just
a lot
gonna buy 'em
faster.
anyway.
Yeah.
It was only $1.86, so come on.
I was so sad because I used to smoke Camel Special Lights, and then they got rid of my Camel Special Lights, and I was very sad about that. But I think they have now brought them back, but they don't call them lights anymore because that's against like the law or something.
Yeah,
No.
I remember, I think it was 89 or 90. They were pushing $2 a pack. And I said, when they're $2 a pack, I'm done. And then I said, when they're $5 a pack, I'm done. And now here I am forking out 12 and saying, if it hits 15, fuck it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when I was younger and they were $7 a pack in New York City. I was like, oh my God, how do people afford to smoke?
Luckily, they're only 8 here. So
I'm just going to supplement my retirement plan. I've been working on it. I've practiced it. Welcome to Walmart. Welcome to Walmart. Can I see your receipt? I got this.
see, I don't think I'm going to live that long. So if I keep smoking, the more I smoke, the less long I live. So I don't have to worry about retirement.
Mm-hmm. They're actually 10 something a pack up here.
Really? Go to Wawa. You got to go to Wawa with the card.
Yeah, at Wawa. Oh,
You
yeah.
have the card.
Yeah, you're right.
If you buy 2 packs, you get like so many cents off or something.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, I want to say it's like $18 with my 2 packs of cigarettes and my coffee drink. And my coffee drink's expensive, so it's like $5 or something.
Stephen Colbert and the silencing attempt. That, I think back to being a kid, Letterman and Carson both pushed lines. We weren't aware of it, but even Reagan and Bush put up with it and didn't try to do anything this dystopian. You can't call it, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but it's not a coincidence. It's a load of bullshit. And I love watching all of the other late night troops rally around them. Earlier today, I saw an interview with David Letterman where he said, you can't spell CBS without BS. This is just nuts. And it's a little bit chilling to see the potential silencing of voices.
It feels very communistic-y.
Yeah, and fucking George Carlin, he told us if you don't like it, there's this thing called the dial. Change the channel.
Yep.
I watched Jon Stewart, his thing on it this morning. I saw and whatever their reason is as to if it's this merger, who got you to that $8 million number or $1 billion or who got you that number? Well, Stephen Colbert is one of the reasons you got that way, and Jon Stewart is, it's just, I don't know. It's a little scary right now.
It is.
Yeah.
And
under his eye, welcome to Gilead.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Yeah. And we have 3.5 years of this left. So look at all the damage he's caused already.
Do we though?
Are you wishful thinking again?
I'm just saying there's a whole TikTok movement that when it happens. So I don't know. I think it's just, I don't even have, every day you think that's the worst that it's going to get, right? That's just as bad as this. And then the next day just tops it. So it's just.
And it's been this way since he was running for his first presidency. I remember every day being like, okay, this will be the thing that will finally get him out of politics. And nope, everybody just turned the other cheek and kept on rolling.
No, the goalposts have moved outside the stadium and they're still moving them.
Yeah.
You would think the Epstein, I mean, even though some of them are getting a little miffed over the Epstein thing, and then he's just telling them again, I don't know why you're so upset about it. If you people don't realize that if you didn't know he was on the list to begin with, like where or have you been living?
I don't even know why we need the list, because there are pictures of him wrapped around girls who are clearly 15, 16 years old, like with Epstein standing there. I mean, what do you think he was doing?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So much anger to read, Pat. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. This is a shitty weekend in news, which is kind of why I, watch this for a segue. Kind of why I think books and stories are important for us to distract and enrich our lives.
You're a professional at that. Come on,
Look
now.
See, I told you we know how to do this, Heather. And bookstores are even making a comeback, by the way.
They are, and independent bookstores have really become my friend. In my kickoff launch tour, it's all been indie bookstores, small bookstores, used bookstores, and they are these amazing, beautiful spaces. There was one where I was there, and a lot of my friends and family, they had already been to the one at the library and the one at the last bookstore. So there were like maybe 4 people, 5 people that I knew, and I'm like, oh shit, this is going to be a dud. But as I was talking about the book, and I had my ASL interpreter with me, every so often somebody would just walk by and sit down. Another person would walk by and sit down. And next thing I know, most of the people who are reading and reviewing the book, even though it's a YA book, it's mostly Gen X and millennial women. But my audience turned into, I remember there was this guy who was really large dude sitting there in his flannel shirt, and he had to have been 65 years old. And he's like, so, you'll autograph my copy today, right? I'm like, yeah, sure. And can I take one of those balloons home for my grandson? I'm like, yeah. But, it was fun having that engagement, and that can only happen in those types of bookstores. You're not going to get it in a Barnes and Noble, and you're definitely not going to get it shopping on Amazon. But, in Barnes and Noble, you're going to have everybody that's wearing snapback hats and yoga pants and drinking lattes. But in the organic, small, independent bookstores, it's like this gigantic family that you walk into, and they're amazing.
Right. And even though I've never been a reader, I loved, because back in like the 90s and the early 2000s, like even Barnes and Noble, Border Books, what was Walden?
Walden Books.
Mall. I could go into those places and spend hours and just sit on the floor and look through books. And I'm not even that big of a reader, but it was still like a cool, fun thing to do and a way to spend time, without.
We have a great independent bookstore here. It's called Browse About. And they have all the time, always something going on, and book clubs and all of that. And independent stores are really, we don't have a chain. We just got a chain. We just got a Barnes and Noble literally like 2 months ago. So it's always been independent here, which has always been nice. So,
and Browse About's been there since we were kids.
Yeah, it's always been there. It's nice. They have like a little cafe, like a cafe area and stuff. They got big. It's really nice in there. Independent is definitely the way to go.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
So tell us about the inspiration.
The inspiration of Hearts of Glass Living in a Real World was basically my life. There's 3 books in the series, and then there's going to be a short story book. But this is a period of 1988 to 1991, and it's a period of my life that I didn't really talk about a lot. I started last year a blog type news thing called Gen X Watch. And I did all of these little stories on Fridays called Femme Fridays. I would talk about Joan Jett, or, well, actually not Joan Jett yet. I would talk about Cyndi Lauper and this person, somebody from our era who was a woman that made a difference, and the effect that she did emanates today. And I wrote about Tina Turner, and I got very few clicks to that one. And I got some passive aggressive messages from people of my generation where it, anytime you start off with your sentence, I'm not a racist, but some racist shit is about to come out of your mouth.
Right.
So that infuriated me. I was going to cancel the series at this point. If my readers aren't ready for Black people, fuck this.
Yeah.
Right.
So I decided to write a giant middle finger to my audience. I was pissed. So I angry wrote an article about Joan Jett, because I can't think of anybody else who's more in your face, full on feminist, strong, screw you energy. But then I was like, you know what? And if you didn't like me writing about a Black woman, I'm going to tell you about this woman I met at a Joan Jett concert. We went to her apartment, did drugs and horrible things to each other's body for 4 days. So I wrote about this girl that I met at this concert in 91, and everybody loved the article, but it wasn't Joan Jett. They loved the story about this woman named Sarah. And I'm like, wow. So I decided, you know what, let's try it again. I'm going to tell them about this friend of mine named Heather that I had met. And so I told this story. She was a Madonna fan, and I wrote that story, and people responded. They loved Heather. They thought Madonna was nice, but they fell in love with Heather because Heather was them or their friend or whatever. So then I wrote another one, and I didn't expect to go this deep, but I wrote about my first love. Her name was Cassie, and it turned into a 3-parter. And what I found out was I found myself writing about this story with her and these friends that I had met when I was working at the mall, the Fox Valley Mall in Aurora. And it was a time in my life that I had blocked out because it was this beautiful, sublime moment where I had gone from this life of abuse and sexual molestation and all these other horrible, traumatic things to this space of beauty. And then some things happen in my life, and I got sucked back into the world of evangelical Christianity and abuse. So there was this moment of beauty. There was this moment of light that I never wanted to talk about because it was painful. But in writing it, I found out it was cathartic, and people fell in love with her. And I, wrote about a friend of mine who's profoundly deaf, and her and some people that I wrote about on the who were on the outskirts of our friendships. They reached out to me, and they were just like, you got to write this, but give Kathy a better ending. Because in real life, she didn't have a good life, and she ironically, or unironically, I don't know, killed herself the same year I tried to make an attempt on my life in 2019. So I decided to write it. Now, book one, the book that everybody has in front of them, that one is so close to autobiographical that I had to consult a lawyer to make sure that the villains in the story couldn't turn around and sue me. So, we had to figure out where the line was. But yeah, I wrote this sublime story, and though it's based on all of us, Ford is completely different from me. He's a little bit smarter than I am. He's a little bit more self-aware, but he's also delightfully clueless in some areas. Cassie is able to express herself more than the woman she was based off of. About the only character that didn't really change was Jenny, the profoundly deaf girl. She was always the most assured in the room, and she would push back on you in a heartbeat. But when you knew you were wrong, she would turn around and give you a hug. So anyway, we have this story about these 3 misfits that meet in the mall. You've got the traumatized former child model, Ford, who is working at Silverman's clothing store in the mall, and he meets Cassie, this girl who's got this punk rock DIY ethos that is a huge Blondie fan and also into polystyrene. of the X-ray specs and, you know, the whole punk and goth, Susie Sue, the whole 9 yards. And she's there working at Orange Julius, and she's got this shitty, stalkery, abusive ex-boyfriend and some other dark things in her past. And then you've got Jenny, who is this profoundly deaf, very, very attractive redhead who's a super prep, has the latest fashions, and has an it factor, but can't be taken seriously as a model because this is 2 years before ADA existed. So she couldn't get the accommodations she needed to get a proper photo shoot. So the three of them meet each other and they're in over their head with all of these entities that are out to destroy youth. I think people forget that it's not out of the ballpark for us in those days. You know, while we were living feral, we were also dealing with abuse. We were also dealing with adult predators. We were dealing with all of these things. So I wrote this story that maybe we don't defeat all the dragons, but we find that hope and that beauty in the found friendship. That's where we survive. That's how you two are together all these fucking decades later. That you know, we don't necessarily win or have a happy ending, but there is an ending, and that hope exists in each other.
Yeah. That was really beautiful, Pat.
Thank you.
I think for me, Cassie reminds me, as I see her in my head, is our friend our mutual friend that introduced us. The curly hair and the attitude, and I mean, the if you throw a little Grateful Dead in there, that was Christine. I mean, she just that was her. And honestly, Ford, I know Nicole knows him. I saw Matt. I saw Matt in her. I mean, in him. That's so. Yeah, I feel like at that point in all of our lives, like it just brings home that line of being a kid and being a grown up when we've always had to be a grown up. And now we're having to deal with also, I mean, we've always had to deal with grown-up issues, but at that point it was such a confusing time because we did have to deal with such heavy topics. It was hard to navigate, I feel like. So it was good to remember that time in my life as well, dealing with, you know, similar stuff. So that's why I really enjoyed it, because it brought me back to that time. And
season 1 of Stranger Things was a moment that helped me with that, because so much of our nostalgia, we make it so kitsch. We focus on like The Wedding Singer, which I love. We focus on the outfits and the music, but there's a scene in season 1 of Stranger Things where Will and Jonathan Byers are discovering the Clash together. And Will is being told by Jonathan, you know, the Clash, Joy Division, all these other bands, this is what's going to save your life. And while they're having this moment together, what's going on in the background? Mom and dad are having an argument in this flashback scene about what a fucked up, weird kid Will is. And Jonathan is just trying to get him to turn off that noise. So that nostalgia that we discovered, that music, that entertainment, that beauty, the stores, these were things we discovered while we were in the middle of hell. They were the distractions that we needed when we didn't have therapeutic terms like coping skills and coping mechanisms. This was just survival. And in that survival, we discovered art, beauty, friendship.
That's the word right there, is survival. I grew up in a tumultuous, my mom left my dad when I was 7, and she married somebody, and they fought constantly. And I remember going into my bedroom and I'd just close the door and sit there and just think, if one of you would just stop, this would be over. But nobody would ever stop, you know? And so, and it had an effect on me as an adult. I wouldn't fight with my significant other because in my head, let me just sit here and be quiet so that we don't have this big argument all the time. But that's what a lot of us grew up in. And it really was important. Like getting that driver's license at 16 was everything, because then you could go to the mall or to your friend's work or to the beach or whatever you wanted to do and just get away and forget everything and just have fun. And then you had to go back home.
Well, the one thing for Ford and I was a child model. And when I was 9, I was doing a runway show for Vidal Sassoon. I ended up in their catalogs for the pictures of the haircuts and all that stuff. But in this runway show that I was doing, there was a man who eventually became the person that hurt me for the first time. And my mom went ahead and married him because cocaine. And I escaped that life when I was 13. I just called up my grandparents. I was dead inside from the first time I was hurt that way. And everything after that was just trying to exist. And the ability, and that was what made me so susceptible to the message of evangelical Christianity. But then when I got this job at the mall, I wasn't around my school friends, so nobody knew that I was this fuck up dweeb that didn't talk. And I wasn't in the church where I had to live up to this Jesus expectation. I was just in this third place, and nobody here knew me. They didn't know my history, and I didn't understand how amazing it was to be myself. And I didn't even know that's what I was doing, but I was myself, and all these other people were themselves, and all of us had messed up backstories. But it didn't matter because we had each other. So yeah, it was absolutely survival, but at the same time, it was survival with a kick-ass soundtrack and Galaga.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And I also grew up in the church, Methodist, every single Sunday. And I saw so much hypocrisy. And I remember when I was 16, I started doubting my faith. And I had to go talk to the pastor. And every question I had for him was just, I don't know, or faith, or because I'd met Christine. So, and she brought in all kinds of things for me that I just didn't know about. And she taught me about Buddhism. And so one of the things I asked the pastor was, well, how come Buddhists are wrong, but we're right, but Buddhists were here first? And he didn't have an answer to any of it. And that basically was the end of it for me. And as soon as I turned 18, I was like, I'm out, I'm done with this. And I did the whole thing, the communion, the confirmation, teaching Bible school, like all that stuff. Like I was in deep. And yeah, that's why I'm an atheist today.
Same.
Yeah.
How much do you think the current swell of nostalgia for Gen X, how much of that do you think is self-soothing us now, or is it an attempt to go back in time, some way to tell ourselves it's going to be okay? Like, do you think the nostalgia that we're living now is an attempt to go back, or do you think it's just a self-soother now?
The answer to the question is yes, but let me unpack that just a little bit because I think about this a lot. There's healthy nostalgia and there's unhealthy nostalgia. Healthy nostalgia is having that soothing coping mechanism. And there's a YouTube video that I saw some years back where they went into an old folks home with an iPod to people that were suffering from Alzheimer's and dementia. And when they were listening to the music of their day, they calmed down, they were less agitated, and their memories came back. So when you're engaging in that, in a healthy nostalgic thing, it is soothing. It is a coping skill. It is something that helps center us. And because it worked then, it centered us then while mom and dad were arguing in the background. It centered us then when we got home from a shitty day at school. And now that everything is on fire, we can go home and embrace that nostalgia. I'm right now currently in season 3 of Miami Vice. We can embrace that, relive that, and relax. Now, the unhealthy nostalgia is when you get fixated on the lie that things were better then, that things were more civil then, that we were smarter then, that the music was better then. The music was better then because that's when we discovered it. If we were born in 2000, if we were born in 1950, our musical taste would be completely different. That's just a fact. But when we start thinking that we're better, we become just like the scene in the Breakfast Club. We become just like our parents, and Bender is a fucking prophet. And we don't want to become that, because if we start shaming Zoomers that have their earbuds on watching TikToks, instead of shaming them, we need to be saying, what are you trying to drown out? What's going on? And you better hope the fuck it's not you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's my answer to the question. There's healthy, and then there's this lie that we tell ourselves.
I agree. I agree with that. I think also some of it of this nostalgia is, again, going back to the loss of Ozzy today. I know for myself, it's, we lost people in the 90s, in the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, and those were all tragic, tragedies and tragedies and tragedies. And now, and now we're losing people, and it's because of their old age, or because of a sickness, or it's not a tragedy anymore. And it's almost like, I know for myself, I hear the ticking of the clock at this point. And it's a weird place to be, especially for me. I never thought I'd get to this point in life to begin with. I never expected to make it this long. It's a shock and surprise to everyone that I'm still here.
None of us did. I think that's the mark of a Cold War Gen Xer.
Yeah, and I'm certainly I'm having to pay the piper now for past mistakes and misuse of ibuprofens. I have stomach issues, and my teeth are falling out, and I never thought I'd live this long. So now it's almost like oh shit, like this is, we're getting to the end. It's coming.
Yeah, I often think, man, I hope I have a good 30 years left in me. Like, I would really like to have some good time, because I'm going through a big transition in my life right now. And I think it's going to be good, and I want to get to enjoy it. So
I am painfully aware of my mortality, and some days it does haunt me. It feels like this background noise that's always there, and it scares the shit out of me. And when you were talking about artists, these last couple of years, I've been intentionally seeing acts, some that I've never seen before, some one last round, because I don't know if this is going to be the last time that I'm going to get to see them. Just a couple of weeks ago, month and a half ago, I saw Ministry, because who knows? And that was Uncle Al's last round anyway. I saw Cyndi Lauper on her farewell tour. In 2022, I saw Blondie, not knowing that Clem was going to die a few months ago, and I'm still not over that one. Deborah Harry has recently said, with Clem gone and Chris not being as healthy as he used to be, I think Blondie is done. We've got an album coming up, but there's going to be no more tours. So shit, I saw the last tour, and Jesus Christ, I saw Rick Springfield summer before last. Never thought that would happen. It turned out to be a really cool show. The guy is amazing, and I have a new respect for him. But it's like I'm doing this last round, knowing that it's their last round, and wondering when it's going to be my last round. So I don't have money to go to Paris and France and do all these things, but I can still afford concert tickets, not as easily as I did back then. So yeah, it sucks. And I never got to see Bowie live, and that fucking blows.
I every day, I at least once a day think about how angry I am at myself, because I was in Las Vegas when Prince had his residency, and I was gonna go, and I was like, oh, the tickets are just too expensive, and I could kick myself every day for not going to see Prince. I mean, I just.
Yeah, I got to see Huey Lewis a couple years back, which was my childhood heartthrob. Like, I used to put my hand on the radio when that song came on, like when he would tell you to put your hand on the radio. But shortly after I saw him, his voice went, and he was done.
And his hearing.
Yeah. So I got, he didn't pass away, but I got to see him on his last round. So and I had never seen him before. So that was really awesome.
Yeah, in August, I'm going to see Billy Idol and Joan Jett are headlining together. This will be my third time for Joan Jett, first time for Billy. And then in a couple of months, I'm seeing Psychedelic Furs and oh my God, Gary Newman. Gary Newman.
Oh.
And looking forward to that one because I've never seen either of those two fuckers in concert.
Yeah.
Joan Jett is still amazing. She was my first concert at the state fair. I was 16 and I begged and cried for my mom to let me go, and she did, thank God. And then I saw her a few years back at a rock fest in Philly, and I kept getting in trouble because I was on the lawn. But when she came on, I ran down to the front, and security would come make me come back, and then I'd go find a different spot and run down to the front so I could be close to her.
The Joan Jett concert that I saw her in was a small teaser concert at a mall in Ohio.
Oh, wow.
And that was so weird. She was doing, Tiffany proved that there was a business model for doing those free shows to get people to go to your big stadium show.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, the other day, the New Kids on the Block at the fair, they came to the fair and they were there with Tiffany and Jimmy Page. What was his name? Tommy Page.
Okay.
The fair puts a Facebook page up and they're like, oh, remember when? And it was like they put that one up, and I think I sent it to you, Nicole, because we were both there. We didn't know each other then, but we were both there, and I remember being so excited about going to see New Kids on the Block. And I can tell you honestly that I would go tomorrow to see New Kids on the Block.
Yeah.
I hate the fact that when they come on the radio, I no longer turn off the station. I find myself sticking, and I'm like, because of that nostalgic factor, and because of the fact that one time I drew the short straw amongst me and my relatives and had to take my younger cousin to that concert.
Yeah, but they were such a sensation. I didn't feel bad for Tiffany at the time because I was one of them doing it, but we were, do you remember, Heather, everybody booing Tiffany off the stage because we wanted New Kids to come out?
Yeah.
So yeah, in hindsight, I feel bad about that, but everybody was like, come on, let's just get them out here.
It was shortly after that I met Christine, and my music taste had started to change right around that time anyway. I don't really know. I do know. There was a boy. There's always a boy.
I know the boy you speak of.
Yeah. He was a beautiful specimen of a human being, and
he wore his hair like Robert Smith.
Looked just like, he had the Robert Smith hair. He wore the lipstick. I'm a sucker. If you put eyeliner on, forget it.
Except for JD Vance. But
right.
Back in the day, the eyeliner in a club, that shit worked. That's all I'm going to say about that.
I love men in makeup. I think men should wear makeup now.
I never understood the whole cougar thing with women being interested in these young men. And I was like, I don't know how you could be like, no, thank you. I'm not interested in hearing anything that a 25-year-old has to say. And then that Ozzy concert, I saw Youngblood and I was like, oh, okay. I get it. I understand now. Okay. All right. Because 20 would have been all over that.
My first experience with cougars was I was a young, impressionable 20-year-old working at Glamour Shots in the mall.
This is the story we want, Pat. We are dying for the Glamour Shots story.
We are.
Okay. So I start working at Glamour Shots, and here's the thing. People do not understand how innovative it was. Stuff that happens today didn't happen back then. First, I'm going to get into that as if I have show notes in front of me. The first thing is contouring makeup. The guys who invented Glamour Shots, they didn't invent it, but they were one of the first people to use contouring makeup, which is now something that is common in every day. Yeah. So they were the ones who first marketed that. You had this whole experience of having your hair done and your makeup done, and it killed Olin Mills, Sears Portrait Studio, JCPenney Portrait Studio. They couldn't keep up, and they lost so much market share that Olin Mills became a memory. But the thing about it was The other neat thing that we had is we gave you proofs that day, but it wasn't through the camera. The camera had a special filter that softened, so you already had the contouring makeup. I had a soft focus lens, so you got those pictures, and we didn't have filters back then, so this was the filter. So you got to see your face without blemishes, and you got this rock star experience. But the cool part was you got to see your proofs right away. We didn't develop the film right away. We didn't have that technology. But what happened was we had a video camera tracking the camera. And every time you hit that shutter button, the video camera would take a freeze frame. So that's what you were looking at when you saw your proofs and made the decision. So the business model was it was only $30 for the session. And you got up to 4 outfits. You got your hair done. You got your makeup done. You got to feel like a rock star. And then we made the money on the back end. Average person that went in there spent like $200 to $300 in 1989, 1990 money. So anyway, I don't know if this worked at all of them, but I was paired up with a hair and makeup girl, the franchise owner for the location I worked at in the mall. I was paired up with this girl. Her name was Alice, and Alice was this short Hispanic girl who had great hustle. So if we were working on a 30-something or 40-something, and we got a lot of those because it was big for real estate agents. Real estate agents wanted it for their cover pictures and other sales reps. So anyway, if she saw one of them looking at me, she would sit there and lie to her and say, he likes older women. You give me a tip, and maybe I'll hook you up with his phone number or put in a good word for you. I've tried with him, but I'm way too young for him. And she would just
Did you know this was going on?
No, at first, no. When I found out, I was at first mortified, and then I was disappointed because I thought I was getting all this attention for free. I didn't know there was a cost, and I wasn't getting a cut. And then we made a deal, and I started getting a cut, and we started milking it a little bit to the point where I had these freaking 38-year-old boomers sliding tips down my jeans.
Nice.
And I felt like a stripper, but it was money. And
Right.
I was in college. So, oh my God, I am a stripper. But
It's more like a pimpo situation to me, but
no, that job was so much fun because on a serious note, you got to make people feel good. I've had other photography jobs in my early days as an aspiring photographer. And the big thing that I learned from that is you make people feel like a superstar, and you encourage them into poses. You get them to lean into it and feel like a rock star. And every day we got to do that. We were underpaid. We were overworked. It was a bitch of a job, but at the end of the day, you walked away knowing you made people feel good, except for prom kids. Okay, here's the scam.
all right.
Prom kids would come in because there came a point where they got away from every so often they had specials where instead of having to pay $30 for the hair and the makeup and everything, you got the photo session for free. There were coupons and this thing and this thing. So a gaggle of prom girls would come in with their dresses on, thinking that they were going to game the system. They would come in, you would do their hair and makeup, and then they would just leave without doing the photo shoot. And that became a problem where Glamour Shots was sending out corporate memos. So what Alice did was that contour makeup was already thick. And if you were under the heat, you were going to melt like a wildebeest. So she created her own technique where she made it even extra thick, knowing what they were doing and giving it to them. So that way, by the time that they got to the dance floor and they started having their fun, their faces were going to melt and their prom was going to be ruined. And by the time it came time for their photos, or even if they did the photos later on outside in the summer sun, in the Midwest, in the front yard, next to the Trans Am, they were going to look like shit. So we had so much fun ruining their days.
Alice
while
is
they
my
were
hero.
trying to, what's that?
Alice is my hero. That's amazing.
I have no idea what she's doing in her life. I hope by some odd off the wall chance she's listening to this, but oh my God, she was great. She was bold. I mean, I was shy and withdrawn. I knew how to play the game. And, you know, whenever I was talking to the people and encouraging them, I was playing a role. I wasn't me, but oh my God, she knew how to hustle and she made the job fun. And I think that's something that exists to me in this day. If your job sucks ass, but you've got one fun person in there, you stay because they make hell tolerable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is so true.
So that your time, I'm assuming your time at Glamour Shots is what inspired the Jenny photo shoot in the book.
No, actually. I thought about having Ford make that job transition, but I didn't. My father isn't a Pulitzer Prize winning photographer, but he was a journalistic photographer for the Chicago Tribune and a couple of other places. And I grew up with that, and then also child modeling. When I was 13, my dad bought me a Pentax K1000 for Christmas, and I became addicted. I got it. I understood the passion that you could point and shoot. And so I just really took it everywhere. And in real life, there was a Jenny in my world, and the only way to get her a portfolio was for me to do it. And there was a real Nora. And so the inspiration was that's how it played out. I was a kid who wanted to be a photographer. And because I was so down on myself all the time, I didn't know how good I was until I actually did it and had people saying, "Oh my God, this is great. Can you do me? Can you do me?" You know, all of these other models that I knew. I'm just like, you really don't think it sucks? You know, I could never believe that anybody thought my shit was good. So yeah, that was the inspiration was, my father being a photographer who divorced my mom and never paid child support, but he did teach me photography. So I got something out of the deal.
There you go. That's what matters, right?
So
I would have preferred being able to afford braces, but I'll take it.
Forget eating. I mean, it's just overrated, and
Yeah.
grilled cheese is just as good.
Wow.
I do want to the ASL. Do you have a background with ASL or with Jenny, that whole line there that you?
Yes. I had a sister that was born over 60% deaf. She was 3 years younger than me. And unfortunately, she's no longer with us. That's all I have to say about that. But as a child, I learned ASL. And because we were living in an abusive situation and he didn't speak it, it was our ability to have a secret language on top of it being her language. So when I met the real person that Jenny is based off of, I hadn't used ASL in 5 years. So I was rusty. Nowadays, I can get a few phrases out because if you don't use it, you lose it. That's the way it works with any second language. But at that point, I still had enough of connection that I was able to start communicating with the real person that Jenny is based off of. So yeah, I do have experience with ASL. I never learned it formally. It's just something that just happened in the environment. No, I did take classes, never mind. But most of it took place on the field of life of just being a big brother that got into fights a lot because people would make fun of her.
Sure.
Yeah, I was going to beat your ass.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Ford wasn't violent. I was.
Same. Actually, my sister is way more violent than I am. I was speaking of bullies, I wasn't the bully. She had we fought a lot. My sister and I are 5 years apart, and we would duke it out. There was some nasty fights happening. But if you came at me for any reason, I mean, I've always been a little weird. I've always dressed weird. I've always been weird. And there was these kids that lived across the street, and they would yell things that I ate snake heads. I don't know why she cared so much that I ate snake heads. I don't know what her deal was, but she would go over there, and she was like 2 foot nothing. I mean, she's a very small person.
She is.
She would just walk her ass over there, and she did not take kindly. So yeah, bullying is I did have to deal with bullying, and I was glad to have a younger sister to handle that for me.
Just as a quick wow. I've never gone violent over Snakehead, but now I'm gonna have to rethink that. Anyway,
Great, it's
Jenny,
great. It's a great thing to say. Like if next time you're pissed off at somebody, just say, you know what, you eat snakeheads. So
you eat
there.
snakeheads, you bastard.
Yeah, what are you gonna say to that?
But yeah, anyway, writing Jenny, that was a tough decision because I'm not deaf. I don't, yeah, I have seen bad attempts. I've got a lot of friends that are writers, and I've seen bad attempts at bad representation where somebody tries to write about a trans character, but they did zero research and they still want to be patted on the back for doing a shitty job and hurting people. So I reached out to a woman that I found on Instagram who's a deaf writer who writes spicy romance novels. So she and I talked about how to write a deaf character, how to write ASL, how bad tropes that are commonly used and things you might want to lean into, because people will sometimes get excited about seeing a reflection of themselves, but if the mirror is cracked, it's going to hurt. And between the second draft and the third draft, I had a couple women, 4 women to be exact, from the deaf community that gave it what's called a sensitivity reading to make sure that Jenny wasn't falling into that. But I was left with a choice. I can either make her as she was or eliminate the deaf part, and then we just have this hot redhead that can't get a modeling gig, and that makes no sense.
Right.
So how did your sensitivity reads go? How'd you do the get-go?
Actually, because I had a great Obi-Wan to help me in creating the character, I hit it out of the park, and I wasn't expecting that. I was fully prepared for notes, and I wasn't going to be butthurt or sensitive about it because I'm not going to reflect you poorly. I got a few notes, but most of them were gentle tweaks, not oh, you fucked it up. And with low self-esteem, you assume, oh, I fucked everything up. Imposter syndrome's a thing, especially when you're creative.
Yes.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I think you did a great job. I work with high schoolers with disabilities, and part of some of them are in the deaf community. We're fortunate that we have someone in management in our division that is fully deaf, and he is very receptive. So anytime I have a deaf case come my way, I refer to him like, this is what I have. Tell me how I should handle this, because I don't want to be offensive or insensitive to it, because I don't have any personal life experience with that. I never had anyone deaf in my life, but I really liked the Jenny's character. I thought that was really cool, and I loved how you guys like talked and stuck up for each other and just kind of were there for each other. It was very sweet. It's a very sweet relationship, and I really enjoyed that one.
I agree.
Yeah.
That means a lot. Thank you. Jenny was fun to write because, if you can make characters with disabilities sympathetic, or you can go into what's called disability trauma porn, where you over amplify normal things. Oh my God, look, they got out of bed this morning and they're doing this. What's your excuse? That's not celebrating someone for them. And there's one particular scene that I'm in love with, where Jenny shows Ford how she enjoys music.
Yes.
And that's actually a very real thing through the membrane of a balloon.
Yeah.
Nowadays, people in the deaf community, they have these things called haptic vests that will interpret all of the different music around them. So just like when we've got good Bose speakers where we can hear the midtones, the bass, and all of the different things, they can feel that at different points on the vest. So the music is this immersive experience.
Yeah. And I just can't say enough about how well you portrayed it, because people who are trying to be, it's kind of like the I'm not racist, but and they don't even realize it. But I used to have someone in my life, and you'd hear a news story or something of someone with a disability doing something, anything, And this person would be like, oh, good for them. And I'm like, don't ever say that to a disabled person. Like, and they're like, why? I said, that's so offensive. Like, oh, look at you. Yay. Pat on the head. You did so good. And I could never get them to understand that. But because, and I don't necessarily, I mean, you don't know what you don't know. And if you aren't around something, it is harder to understand it. Although you can overcome, because I grew up with a very racist stepfather, and that never ever appealed to me. Like that, it never made sense to me. I used to have, as a teen, I would always have birthday parties and have my friends over, and we had a basement and we got music and I would decorate and all that good stuff. And when I was probably 18, Heather knows who I'm talking about. I wanted to have my birthday party, and I had a Black friend at that point, like a very close one. And my stepfather told me I wasn't allowed to invite him. So I didn't have my birthday party. I was like, I'm not going to invite this person. So, I mean, it was bad. It was very, very racist. It was. And the funny thing is, neither of my parents are that way. So it was a culture shock, but I think it almost made me better in a way, because I got to really see it firsthand of how hateful and awful it is. So I never wanted to be like that. So yeah, I don't even know where that came from, but it was something you said that triggered that memory in my head. So Pat, I want to hear about the Oscar Mayer kid.
Oh boy. I'll give you the short version, but
Okay,
first off, the Oscar Mayer kid, his name is Rich. I don't remember his last name, but Rich was the original Oscar Mayer kid. And then in later years, do you remember the Got Milk ads?
Yes.
And there's a little boy who's saying, I'm drinking milk. I'm small and little and frail. And then there was a more athletic kid, but now that I'm drinking milk, I have grown into macho, and you want me. And that was him. He was the grown up kid. So that's those, he had these two iconic moments in his history. And I was part of community theater at the time. And he was the manager of the facility. And at the time that I was doing that, there was me. There was John Barrowman from Doctor Who fame, Captain Jack Harkness. He was my first experience of having a fully out gay person that I knew. We weren't friends, but we were friendly. And he totally, all the shit that evangelicals were telling me completely melted away, because I'm like, oh my God, this guy is amazingly sweet, nice, and fucking talented. Unlike me, I'm just doing this for fun. He's got something going on here. Andy Dick was a part of that group, and he was not surprisingly a horrible asshole. But we don't really talk about him that much. But no, I mean, Rich, in my world, I don't keep memorabilia. I don't celebrate that time in my life, but also I wasn't doing commercials. I did one commercial, but it was photo shoots. And then when I shorted out of the industry, because, whenever I hit full puberty, I was 5'9.5", minimum was 5'11", and it was very firm stop there. So I just did runway shows for proms and homecomings. He had a more full, rich career that was involved in television commercials. So when you went into his office, it had all of the Oscar Mayer stuff. And, we'd had a few encounters before community theater in our youth. So it was really kind of nice bumping into him. I remembered him. He didn't remember me, but we were able to put together the pieces. And he had his moment in the sun, and he had mementos of it. For me, it's too connected with the trauma to celebrate. So I'm glad that he had that experience. But mine was a completely different experience. But yeah, he was a really cool guy. He was nice. But that was also his domain and his space. That theater that we were renting, you did not fuck around and want to find out. If you colored outside of the lines, if you did something you weren't supposed to, he'd be all over your ass. But he really cared about the theater. He cared about the community. Just really, really an amazing person.
Very cool. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where can we get the book? Let's talk about where we can get the book, how we can get the book.
Okay. The book. Well, first off, on Friday, the day that this episode airs, allegedly, Friday, the 25th of July, the audiobook comes out, which I know the two of you have had a chance to listen to. The voice actor, her name is Jen Lantham. She is a veteran in the industry. If you've ever been forced to watch a Salesforce video about how to use Salesforce and you hear the narration or things about, don't sexually assault people in HR videos, you've probably heard her voice. There was no way I could afford her. She fell in love with the project. We were able to make a negotiation for the royalties, and she is all in, and she can't wait for book 2 to hit. I love her. What she delivered to the table was amazing. The audiobook is coming up. Before this goes live, I'll send you a link to where people can see the countdown and get it directly from Spotify, the main source, but they'll also be able to get it from Audible, iTunes, blah, 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 all of those places. But honestly, I can't sing the praises of the audiobook enough. When I heard her read it, it made me proud of my own work. And I saw the characters differently. One quick thing before I continue to answer your question. She does something fascinating with Jenny. Pay attention to Jenny. When Jenny is speaking verbally, it's a slight monotone. When Jenny is speaking ASL, it's full vocal inflection because that's her native tongue. So, there's little differences. And God, I love what she did with Doug. Doug is such a badass. For people who have not read the book yet, you will fall in love with Doug. He is cool.
I love Doug. I do. Yeah.
But anyway, as far as the book itself, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Thrift, not in the stores, but online. Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Thrift Books, bookshop.org, all of the places that you buy books online. And if you do go to bookshop.org, what's amazing about them is you can choose your favorite local bookstore as if the purchase came from them, and they get their cut as if you picked it up from their shelf. So this is a way to support your local bookstore and still buy online. Or you can feel free to ask them for it. And the audiobook, or not the audiobook, the ebook is available in all of those spaces. But affordability in this dystopian age is really something that matters to me, because not everybody can afford books, and I think everybody needs an escape. And it's not like my book is in every library. It's only 2, and they're here in the Chicago suburbs. But if you go to my publisher's site, barnstormer.org, that's my publisher, they have the audiobook available for $1.99.
Oh, nice.
And that is there specifically to make it approachable for everyone, because the book itself is $16.99. That's not in reach of everybody. The normal price for the ebook is $4.99, but even that is a stretch for some people. So $2 and you're in. You get to at least enjoy the ebook. So those are the spaces that you can get it. And my next public appearance, if you go to my website at patgreenauthor.com, my next public appearance is actually going to be in a mall in Joliet in August. I decided to hook up with the craft fair vendors that hang out in the middle of malls, and I'm going to have a table and pitch the book and present. And I'm going to test it. If it sells there, the fee to get into Fox Valley Mall, where the book is set, is actually more than double. So if I can make a case and have it sell in a mall, you bet your ass I'm going to go there and hustle it on the side. But yeah, that the places you can get it, all the places you normally buy bookstores, buy online. But because I'm not a big fan of people that like writing dick-shaped rockets into space and sending pop stars up there, honestly, if you go to bookshop.org, you can choose a local bookstore and support your favorite bookstore and help them out while going to me. And obviously, you can go to barnstormer.com. I get a bigger cut that way. And we're soon going to be launching for people that want an autographed copy. People could go to that website, spend $20. I'll sign it. I'll mail it to you personally.
Oh, excellent. That's
And
great.
where do we get the autographed copy?
I can make arrangements after the show. We can talk and we can get you one. You gave me an opportunity to be on one of my favorite podcasts.
Oh, stop it.
And well, I am your number one fan, which I don't want that pressure, because all I can think of when you told me that was misery.
So you are the best kind of number one fan. I mean, you stroke our egos, and we will text each other on Fridays and be like, I can't wait for Pat to listen. Why hasn't Pat listened yet? I want to know what Pat thinks of this episode.
I get to have fun and dig deep into my weird little cultural references, because the beginning spots when you two are in better moods and the world isn't about to end and we haven't lost two cultural icons in a week.
Yeah.
You guys go into these amazing tangents, and I'm just like, yep, I wish I could be there in that room, light up a joint and say, yeah, but what about, and just have this free flow ADHD hour.
Yeah. And I'd love to hear that, because that's what we wanted to do. Like, we pick a topic, but we don't want to be typical and just run through like blah, 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 blah. Like, we want to relate our lives and our memories based on this topic. And then we hope to spark that in other people, and we do for you. So that's awesome. And I want to pay $20 for your book. I don't want a free
We'll talk afterwards. It'll be easier to make the transaction than me saying, all right, here's my phone number for the Zelle and your address. We'll take that order. But if you do have any fans, let's put this out there. Because I've got copies on stock. If your fans reach out and they give you guys the 20, we can make the arrangements, and I'll let you guys have a portion of that as a tip. We'll fund the show.
Okay.
We'll yes.
And if you edit that part out, that's fine. But let's do something and tie it into the show and make it fun.
Do you know how little editing I actually do? It is just, we run it, and then I take out like the pauses and the ums and sometimes Nicole likes to get right up on the mic, and that's all I edit out.
Okay, because I have zero editing skills, every time I do a 30 or 45-second reel on Instagram, that is 2 hours of work, because I do take after take after take after take until there's no ums, ahs, awkward pauses, or I don't fumble on a word. And by the time I'm done, I'm like, I hate this. I don't know how anybody does TikTok and is not a drug addict. And I need to stay sober, so I'm not going to do another one of these for a month.
Yeah, I mean, our conversations are real. It's one take. Once in a while, if we stop and rewind, it's because our tongues are like blah, 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 and we can't get it out, and we have to stop and be like, okay, let me try this again. But other than that, it's one take and one and done. Like, that's it. But that's how we talk to each other, and that's why Heather was right when she sent me that text. We should do a podcast, because we're brilliant and we're smart and we have really awesome, amazing opinions, and we knew we wanted to share it with the world.
So what I'm hearing is you're smart enough, you're good enough, and doggone it, people like you.
Doggone it, people like us. We're definitely going to have you on again, because this was so much fun.
That would be a blast. The only thing that I will say in shameless plug land is, if you want to appreciate a walk down memory road in the 80s, embrace the nostalgia, but also remember the beauty of found family. It's a phenomenal book. The reviews that I'm starting to get online from mostly the women makes me realize that I've struck the chord that I wanted to. And there's more reviews from men now, but my first review from a male was hilarious. It was a guy in the UK on Amazon UK, and he wrote, "This book is about crimes committed against women, and they think it's their fault, and this is wrong." And you could tell that this little light just came on in this guy's eyes. And then he closed it with, "If you have a daughter, you need to buy them this book." This was him for the first time realizing that some of the things that Cassie's going through is on a daily for too many women, most of them. If I were in a room, if I go to a high school reunion, I can probably count on one hand how many women haven't been through something, and they're probably lying.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, it's so, especially before, it was just prevalent. I mean, that was just how it was. And nowadays, men are so offended, like, can't say anything anymore, blah, 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 blah. Like, I was in a casino a few years back, and a young girl was a floor attendant, and this nasty old man in his 70s, she's paying out his thing, and his hand's on her ass. And I was a cocktail waitress for 14 years, so I put up with a lot of in a casino, and I can't keep my mouth shut. So he says to her, "What's your name, sweetheart?" And I was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa! You don't even know this girl's name, and you have your hand on her ass." And he, of course, starts cussing me out. And he actually said, you can't have any fun anymore. You're not allowed to do anything anymore. I'm like, yeah, you're not allowed to grope young women. Right. So
For whatever it's worth, I do not let the locker room go unchallenged. If you say it in front of me, I'm going to speak up and say something directly to their face, because it's not okay. When the Me Too movement first came out, a friend of mine who I respect greatly, he posted, "Guys, you need to shut up and pay attention." And I'm like, okay. So I did. And then I started asking myself some really uncomfortable questions. Have I ever used guilt to get what I want out of somebody? Have I ever used alcohol as a lubricant? Have I ever lied? Have I ever? And some of those answers were uncomfortable yeses. And I think that we have a lot of progressive men that are falling by the wayside and being exposed. And I think that's because they pat themselves on the back for not having raped somebody in an alley, but they've never asked themselves the hard questions, because that toxic masculinity, that is ingrained in us. That is part of our culture. That is what we grew up in. We were raised in the locker room and we were seeking acceptance. But okay, so yeah, we were programmed, but we are full-ass grown adults who are responsible for our behaviors. And if we analyze it, we can stop it. And if we see it, we shouldn't be silent. Not just because that's somebody's daughter, not because that's somebody's mom, not because of any of that shit, but because it's just wrong and it's inhumane. And I am sorry, but consent is sexy. I'm going to close this rant with a fun little story. I was in a relationship with a girl. Dated her 2016 through 2018. And one day I was pouty because she got dirty flirty while we were out to dinner. When we got back to my place, her mood changed and I got pouty about it. So she took me outside and she's like, "Let's go have a cigarette." I'm like, "Oh shit." So we go outside and she goes, "I know what you're pouting about and it's really fucking childish. And if you think that's going to win your case, it's not. One of the great things about this relationship is you taught me not to let men talk to me in such a manner. And I'll be goddamned if it's you who does that." And then from there, we had this conversation about how that was a pattern that I did that I was unaware of. I got pouty if I didn't get my candy after dinner.
Right.
And so what happened was our conversations, there was no impromptu sexy time. We had full-on conversations to make sure both people were on the same page. And I got to tell you, that it sounds weird, and guys saying, "Oh, you can't talk about anything." I promise you, if you have a full-on consensual conversation and everybody's feeling it, it's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's that simple. You don't have to read the room. You don't have to take a guess. You don't have to stretch your arm at the movie theater and do that. You just, "Hey, you wanna?" "No."
Mhm.
And then your response is like, "Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. And
You want to play some Uno?"
Right. And it's those little learning moments that are so important.
Yeah.
One of my favorite quotes is by Maya Angelou, and it's "Do the best you can until you know better and then do better."
Mhm.
So it's not, you weren't trying to make her feel that way or feel that some sort of way. But luckily you two had the communication where she could tell you, "Hey, stop." And you were like, "You know what, you're right." And you've learned from that and you'll never do it again. So
And a little bit of that spilled into Ford. A little bit of conversations like that spilled into Ford, because what Ford does well is, I wanted Ford to be one of the best book boyfriends that anybody's ever had, but I didn't want him to be the white knight in shining armor. Like in the Lifetime videos, it's always the sensitive, handsome guy who, when he takes off his shirt and Dockers, he also happens to be cut.
Right.
Ford is not heroic. What Ford does is Ford listens, gives space, and believes. And
Yep.
he's a supporting character doing that. He might be the protagonist, but he is that hero because he's able to support. And that's what makes him awesome. And you get to see Cassie stand up, and she even calls him out when he crosses a line too far trying to stick up for her. And she's like, that's not what I want. I want you here, not out there playing fucking Rambo.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. I really did feel like Ford was a more of a, I don't want to say modern man, but a much more sympathetic to the situation, to Cassie, than most men.
Well, the Easter egg for Ford is part of my creation of him was saying, what happens if a little boy grew up and actually listened to Mr. Rogers?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of man does he become?
I love that.
And how does he overcome all of those other voices? The Jeffs, the Dougs, the this, the that, and he does look up to Doug, but Doug also isn't an asshole. Doug has his own characteristics. He's this big brother figure. And I love him because he's more of what we think of in the modern man that you brought up, Heather. He really, he can be strong and tough. I mean, oh my God, if there was an 80s version of, what's his name? The actor who plays the Mandalorian.
Pedro Pascal.
Yes, Pedro Pascal. If there was an 80s version of Pedro Pascal, Doug would be Pedro Pascal in the womb, still meticulating. But I don't know if meticulating is a word. We'll fucking go with it.
I love it.
But Ford is like, what happens if you actually listen? What happens if you pay attention? And the key question is there strength in that? And the answer, in my opinion, is yes. And that's for every sensitive guy out there who is told that they're not enough, who is told that they're beta. It's like, no, this is your fucking superpower. This is your strength. And any guy that's going to get up in your face wearing a snapback and thinking that they're the shit and they can't step up and elevate their clothing game and can't listen to good music, fuck them. You're better.
Yep.
You know who Ford is, Nicole? I'll tell you who. Matt, my brother-in-law, Matt.
Yes.
I like him already.
He is.
I've had a crush on him since her sister met him.
He's the most amazing. He is the most amazing human being. If you can't get along with him, there's something very wrong with you. Yes. Like he's just one of those people that, no two people are more suited for each other than my sister and her husband. It's just impossible. It's just they've been together. It's like 20 some odd. Well, the boy will be just turned 20, so 24 years now. I think they've been together, and he's petrified of my sister, as he should be. Mm-hmm. Nobody treats their wife like a queen like he does. I mean, she is.
But he will act up if he needs to.
Yeah.
If you come for his family, forget it.
Oh, yeah. We'll keep that one too. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. But it's happened multiple times.
Yes. It's just, but who I was actually, and it just dawned on me now that I was thinking it was my brother-in-law, Matt, but who I actually pictured when I was reading it was Christine's Matt.
Yep. I knew that's who you meant when you said that first time.
Yeah. But then it dawned on me, maybe all Matts are like that.
The best thing about Christine's Matt was that we were in the same chemistry class, and we were a year younger than her, and she would come to the door to get him, because back then you could just walk out of class. What were the teachers? And I would go with them. So Christine would come around me and Matt up, and we'd go skip class together, and it was awesome.
I was the photographer for the school paper, and they gave me a laminated hall pass, and I would just say, yeah, I got to take a picture. And senior year, I don't think I was hardly in any of my classes.
Mm-hmm.
I showed up on finals, took the test, graduated, because that's how it worked.
You were so lucky. You could not get away with that shit at private school to save your. First, there was only 20 of us in the whole class, so if one of us is missing, it's pretty obvious.
You're right.
Hey, wait a minute. Where is Where's the one that looks weird? Unlike the rest of you. Oh, she's called out. Yeah, there was no skipping school in my world. Plus, everybody knows me. So, and I drove like the most obvious car on the planet Earth. So, if I were to leave school and drive through the small towns that we live in, everyone knows my mom and everyone knows my dad. Everybody knows my uncle because they have had businesses here and stuff. I cannot go anywhere. I still, to this day, just the other day, I got, oh, are you Dave's daughter? Yeah. Yeah. I still can't get away with it. So I could never skip school. I could never have gotten away with it.
You missed out.
I know. I'm so sad.
Invisibility had its advantages.
Mm-hmm.
You know what though? I'll tell you what happened though. Once I went to the University of Delaware, where you are anonymous, like nobody could give two shits about where you are. That's when it all went horribly wrong. That's where it went. Well, she did it to me. I was a good student and I was a good girl until I met her.
Okay, because when I would call you and say, "Hey, you want to go to the mall?" and you couldn't because you had too much vodka.
That's your fault.
Okay, gotcha.
I went to a very repressive Christian college. Long story, I was studying to be a minister. They manipulated me into that path. But when I was there, I still had my dark side, which was actually a good side. I went to Rocky Horror. I still smoked weed on the side. But anyway, I was an RA sophomore year. Big mistake. So basically, I would catch kids with weed and I'd be like, hey, I'm confiscating that, but I'm not going to report you. You'd be expelled for this. And then I'd go sell it behind the bowling alley and make money. I was God. But there was a huge, my point was public school and then going to a private Christian college. They had so many weird rules. It made Footloose look like a free for all. We couldn't watch R-rated movies. We couldn't go to dances. There's an old joke about the denomination I was with. How come Assemblies of God is so against premarital sex? The answer is because it will lead to dancing. Dancing was the ultimate sin for the denomination I was part of. My senior prom date, Christy, and I hope she's listening, she was threatened to lose leadership at her church for going to prom with me because there would be dancing and also it was Pat Green. So, and she went anyway, and we weren't even dating. We went as friends, but I was that evil and the dancing would be there and God only knows what could happen. What happened was we had a great time. Then we went to the city. Then we almost got shot by a guy driving a newspaper truck. Then we went to the dunes.
Yeah. Sounds like a good night.
That was a normal ladies' prom.
That's why we have to have you on again, because I wanted to get into discussing how the 80s and 90s and the Gen X experience is different from the East Coast where we are to the Midwest. And
oh my God, that was on the show notes. We got trailed off. That will be a fun conversation. Yes, I'm down for whenever I'm off on Tuesdays. So
yeah,
perfect. So when does the next book come out? Have you started it?
Yes, I'm actually done with the first draft, and my editor has started giving. I told her, I'm going to feed these to you. You cannot give me notes until I'm done with the first draft. I can't think back. That's going to fuck me up.
Right.
So I have just finishing editing. I've just finished the edits of chapters 1 and 2 for the second draft, and the release date is Black Friday because that's where the book starts.
Fun.
So we're going to have Black Friday at the mall.
Excellent.
Oh my gosh. I love it.
I'm excited.
Yes.
Yeah. And that one will take us into winter of 88 and ends in 89. And then book 3 will take us into the 90s.
Oh, the 90s.
Oh, the 90s.
Yeah. The hair and clothes are going to be less awesome. So is the music, but
You know, you can't walk into a Target now and think that you're not in the 90s anymore. Sure.
I can't promise when we get to that third book that I'm not going to talk about Molly.
Oh.
Ooh. All right.
Now we're getting somewhere. I was just talking about Molly the other day. Anyway, we definitely have to have you on again because this was a blast.
This was awesome. See, Heather, I told you not to be nervous.
Look, bro, I'm nervous all the time anyway.
I know.
I was nervous when I woke up this morning because
I stress ate macadamia nuts and chain smoked while I was waiting for the call.
I didn't get the chain smoke because I'm at my mom's house. So.
And I'm now out of macadamia nuts, and those fuckers are expensive.
Yeah, they are.
I took a nap before this, so
I'm jealous.
well, I had a sinus headache, so it wasn't a fun nap, but it was a nap.
All naps are fun, no matter what.
Yeah.
If Comet's coming, take a nap.
Yeah. As well.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna wrap it up because it's 1,500 million degrees in this room now. Well, thank you, Pat, for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
We're gonna do it again.
Yes.
You can follow us on all the socials at Like Whatever Pod. Nicole's gonna post all of Pat's socials on there. You can send us an email about how you would like to read Pat's book at likewhatever@gmail.com or don't like whatever.
Whatever.
Bye.
Bye.
Like whatever.